Hey guys, if you've been sticking around for the Chris Barr saga, this episode is going to absolutely be awesome for you. So we've started with Chris Barr, who he is. We learned about how to be the best buyer possible and what to look out for. We've gone through a few iterations of businesses. We've looked at a pool business, an art framing business, and then he found his perfect business from episode 1, and he has it under LOI. So in this episode, we get to talk about his LOI, his strategy behind it. We get to look into how he's going to start due diligence and who's on his team. This episode is fantastic. If you're buying a business, stick around for the details. Appreciate it, everyone.
Welcome back to Jackquisitions. We have Chris Barr. What's going on, Chris?
Man, it goes. Due diligence is upon us, and yeah, welcome to the jungle, man. It's a ride.
So, last time we left you, you were thinking about putting in an LOI on a pressure washing company locally, and in your geo, the company you wanted, according to the first step.
Yep.
And like everything, it B2B just like you wanted primarily. So like dreams do come true. As someone who says you're never going to find that, you found it.
Insane. Yeah. So it's funny because the first episode dropped and I went back and watched it. I haven't watched any episodes. So after getting over the cringe of hearing yourself talk on camera for the first time, I got to the portion where you said, describe your perfect business. And I'm like, man, that is every box checked for what I ended up finding. And we've got a long way to go. There's, a million things that could kill this deal during due diligence. But that being said, it's really, really exciting to have so much synergy, such a warm relationship with the owners, the exact business I wanted, exact area. So a few complaints on my end so far, at least.
One of the most common and expensive mistakes that I see in acquisitions in the home service space is not getting serious about accounting. Whether you're buying a business or you're already running one, you need the right financial partner to save you time, money, and headaches. That's why we partnered with Appletree Business Services. They are a one-stop shop that'll help you get through the due diligence process, but then they'll partner with you after to help you out with payroll and bookkeeping and taxes. They know home services. They're fluent in tools like ServiceTitan and HouseCall Pro. If you're tired of the surprise tax bills or an accountant who ghosts you when you really need them, Appletree's the upgrade you deserve. Listeners of the show can get a free tax and financial review, and if you're buying a business, they'll give you 10% off quality of earnings. Just head on over to appletreebusiness.com, talk to Patrick, click the link, let them know Jack sends you, and they will take care of you. And so with that, I have a key question, right? It's you closed on LOI. The LOI was an interesting LOI with the creative financing that generally you don't see. Did they just accept that first round? They said, we're good with that? Or was there some back and forth?
They accepted the amount that I was going to put down at close. And we said the earnout will be TBD during due diligence. So we left it a little bit open-ended. I came in with a purchase price that was well above what I initially wanted to lead with or what I think the business is worth. But that being said, we were in a interesting position to get first crack at it before it went back on the market. And, again, LOIs are very contingent. We saw a lot of opportunity to kind of whittle that purchase price down, the eventual target purchase price. We held firm on what we're doing close, but, was a little over aggressive with that to lock down the deal. We'll probably whittle it down during due diligence, but we were able to get it signed on and, into our mini back office we have here and get to analyze it.
And so like a perfect example, you said, welcome to the jungle. So now like that was the easy part. Well, this is all the easy part compared to running a business, but this is the LOI was the easy part. You get that signed and now it becomes real, right? And so talk a little bit about, before you start, talk a bit about kind of the people you have in your team.
Sure.
I don't need like names or, but like what positions. So you said, we were talking before this call that you just had extremely long call with an accountant.
Yeah.
So you have an accountant. Does the accountant do M&A? Tell us a little bit about that position, and then let's hear the other ones.
Sure. As a little bit of context, I won't get too in the weeds. Again, from the commercial real estate background and the commercial real estate portfolio that we have, a lot of these team members have been in place. It's the same accountant that's managed our entire real estate portfolio. They've been our kind of right-hand man. The accounting firm is Kemper CPA. They're top 100 in the nation. We also have a valuations expert who specializes in M&A, who's not our key right-hand man, but he's on the team and consulting with us as we move forward. And same with the attorney. It's the attorney who's also handled, M&A transactions before. He's a transaction attorney. He's been our right-hand go-to attorney for a long, long time with the portfolio that we currently have. So I would love to take credit, but a lot of that team is kind of baked in and already in place. And we examined switching up when we're going to take this to contract, but we have a solid ecosystem in place already. So it seemed like, for congruency's sake, just kind of keep the same players and, take on additional local attorneys or, again, a valuations expert within their house as needed.
So, question for you: are you? I guess I don't know these people, but are you worried that these individuals are not from this space, right? So, for example, if you get we always push really hard. I push really hard whenever I'm dealing with someone who's looking for a business, is to focus on an M&A attorney who does this, like does lower middle market stuff.
Yep.
And I always push that because if you get an M&A attorney that's for a big M&A attorney, you're going to have to pay a significantly higher bill because they don't understand the actual risks and rewards involved with this transaction. For example, like your indemnity clauses and your warranties and guarantees, like all that needs to be important. But that being said, right, you're not buying $100 million M&A. You're not even buying a $20 million business. You're buying with, a $5 or a $1 million business without real estate. Like it's a very small deal in comparison to like the M&A market. And so do you worry about that across your accounting team? Or right, they don't look at M&A. Your due diligence team, they don't look at small and M&A, right? Because as you could imagine, right, just another counterpoint is like somebody who does due diligence for these small deals understands, I think, a little bit better that owners like to use it as their pocketbook, and so that's what they're looking for. They're looking for specific transactions where owners kind of work around the system. Versus when you're $100 million, M&A transaction, like you're not looking for the time that the owner, probably not even adding back the time that the owner took his wife and his best friend out to dinner. Yeah. Like that $200 probably isn't relevant as much as making sure that there's not massive fraud.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so does that worry you, or how are you mitigating for that specifically?
No, great question. And I think it's a matter of trade-offs. The reason that I end up sticking with our kind of OG team is they do have the versatility. Our attorney has done M&A on
MMA.
Get back to my roots. Yeah, I mean, I wish, but the long arm bar of the law. So he's done M&A for transactions much, much bigger than ours. He's also worked on deals much, much smaller than ours. Kind of same with our accountant, that valuation specialist they have in-house has worked on stuff bigger, worked on stuff smaller. So both are versatile enough for me to feel confident that they could handle this transaction. And for what I'm sacrificing in specialization, which definitely has crossed my mind, it's been I wouldn't say a major concern, but it's been something we've put thought into. We get familiarity and we get people that really, really understand our levers that are important to us. Because as we've discussed, the things that I might try and to negotiate in a deal, and the things that are important for me and sticking points for me are maybe, and we know they're very, very different than your sticking points because everyone has different needs. So they're very familiar with our needs and what our priorities are and what we're going to be looking for most. And just on that call with the accountant, yes, he was very, very adaptable of kind of starting to see that, okay, this is kind of used as a personal pocketbook for the owners and is able to kind of shuck and jive with that model, even though it might not be his bread and butter. So what we sacrifice in specialization, we make up for in familiarity, and then kind of knowing our particular levers that are important to us. So I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you had a team. I think the most important thing is A, that you have the team starting, but B, that you, I'm going to say that you're kind of a unique instance. I would definitely recommend going out and getting specific specialists, just because if you aren't the specialist and you're not going to get that familiarity like Chris is getting, to make sure that you're finding those specialists. And so, for example, somebody in the space that we're not sponsored by them yet, or unfortunately, is who I've used for all 4 of my deals is SMB Law. Right? Eric and Kevin Henderson, they run a small M&A firm, or excuse me, they run a legal firm for small M&A deals. I think they're like the 4th largest growing firm or some crazy metrics last year. But I was their first deal, and then I've continued to use them because absolutely amazing. They only focus on these kind of deals, so they're very, very knowledgeable. Same thing for CPA firms and due diligence firms. I know this is not really to you, Chris, but this is just to the audience, is like, hey, focus on people who know what they're doing in this space, because if you don't, you can end up spending way more and get less. So I'm trying to think, Apple Tree Business, they're a sponsor. Amazing. So they do due diligence, they do M&A, they do the consulting on the front end, and then they actually do payroll, bookkeeping, and tax stuff on the back end. So you can utilize them and stick with them through. They already know your business. It's an easy transition. Like, those are the type of groups that I would definitely recommend. But sweet. So you have your accountant, you have your valuation expert, which usually comes with the accountant, or at least they know the reference person. If you're doing a 7A, they will buy one, or they'll make you buy one from a third party. You have your lawyer, you have your broker, your buy-side broker. Anyone else I'm missing? Your banking partner, probably?
Yeah, and we have a lender that we have a very, very long-standing relationship with. So especially when I was starting the search process, and I was wondering kind of like, what's the price range I should be hunting? And I was able to just give him a call and say, you've got my balance sheet, you know where I stand, what size can I realistically take a swing at? And he said, $500,000 to $1 million, maybe up to 1.5. So I'm like, all right, that's my purchase price range. So yeah, again, we've got a long-standing relationship there that we can lean on. So
definitely recommend getting involved with your bankers early on, because they'll give you that. They'll say, hey, let's look at your financials. Let's pre-qualify you. Let's figure out how we can do this. And that's what the key is. Like, you want a banker that's going to tell you, how can we do this? Not don't do this, or you can't do this. It's like, how? What is the steps necessary to get there? You're going conventional, right?
Yep.
Most people listening are going to go SBA 7A. I just got in an argument with another banker about that, but that's neither here nor there. I just always think I'm right, which I was in this instance over someone who does this for a living. But they were arguing over variable versus fixed SBA loans. I was like, no, I'm pretty sure most SBA loans are in this industry are variable.
Yeah.
They're like, no, they're not. They're not. Yeah. And I was like, yeah. I mean, I've been to market 3 times. They are.
And I'm not even using SBA from the limited research I did on them way at the beginning of the process. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was variable, but and again, different strokes for different folks. And just
I'm gonna real quick. Before I'm gonna what do you call it? Pitch. Gosh, I'm blanking here. I'm just going to pitch our other sponsor, which is Alan from First Internet Bank. Once again, not the guy I argued with. Very good. Alan's amazing. If you guys really do need an SBA loan, go and talk to him, especially early on in the process. Get ahead of it. I think there's a website up where you can get in contact with him. Alan, ALANFIB, firstinternetbank.com. Alan, firstfib.com. Amazing guy. And really knows what he's doing, specifically in HVAC too, which is awesome for me because I get to talk to him about these kind of things. But we'll have him on the show here at some point, and definitely would utilize him. Yeah. So Chris, okay, so you've got LOI signed. You're going into due diligence. There's kind of 2 sides of due diligence that we talked about. There is an operational due diligence and then a financial due diligence. What have you started? Where are you at? Yeah,
and I kind of really broke it into 3, actually: legal, financial, and operational.
Fair.
It's crazy because I really felt like it was best to kind of dive into the financials first. I mean, if the math doesn't math, no sense in me weeding through a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo. And
I
then,
love it.
I was just doing some Googling on the business and owners and like saw a few legal things pop up. And I'm not an attorney, so I don't know what kind of impacts these things have. If they're deal killers, I hope to God not. But then I was like, well, shoot, maybe I should do some legal first and kind of get some, clarity on that
Well,
to make sure I'm not having to weed through the financials if there's a deal killer on the legal side. So it's
yeah, let's clear something up before you start though. Are you doing stock sale or asset sale?
asset purchase.
Okay, so then the legal is less important because it is a new entity.
Yep.
So for people who don't understand, stock sale is essentially you're keeping the same business, you're keeping all the liabilities. A lot of sellers like it because it can be tax beneficial to sellers. Buyers don't like it because you have to take the business. You're buying the stock of the business versus just buying the assets of the business, shutting it down, getting a DBA, and then it's a new business.
Mhm.
So Rapid Response was the original name of the old owner's company. I have a company that owns Rapid Response and owns the IP and owns everything. Asset sale, about the trucks, about the goodwill, about the website, the name, blah, 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 blah. So you are doing an asset sale, which then removes a significant portion of the risk. I know that you mentioned, and we won't dig too far into it, that though there's some extenuating circumstances on this where it is a franchise opportunity.
Yes. And so there is that. And also, again, this is just kind of history in real estate stuff. We are like so insanely terrified of litigation. It's one of those things. And
Mm-hmm.
yes,
As you should
an
be.
asset purchase does shield us from a lot of that, but like I don't want like you're probably good. Like I don't like that doesn't cut it for me. This thing needs to be, especially on a legal standpoint, squeaky clean because like, oh my God, legal stuff is just kind of the bane of our existence. We were in apartment rentals for years, and that was
Yeah,
again, so
I
that's
can
something
imagine.
that's a big touch point for us. So yes, and but in regards to the financials, where I was really trying to get started, they gave us a big Dropbox with a bunch of DD items from previous buyers, and I was like, gung ho, okay, we've got it. I've got all the materials in front of me. Let me sharpen my pencil and dive in, even though this is the part of the process I'm really uncomfortable with. And pulled open bank statements, credit card statements, general ledgers, tax returns, and was like, I
Nope.
don't know what I'm doing.
Nope. I'm so glad you
oh,
said that though. Like that's so important
I was
is
so lost in the
it
sauce.
yeah.
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 Oh,
So I mean, due diligence is a serious thing, especially quality QOE. I think it's quality of
earnings,
earnings. Yeah, it's just making sure that the earnings are good,
yes.
right? You pay somebody
Yep.
to go through and make sure that the jobs are good. They match up perfectly with what they said they did.
Right.
You're not getting paid, right? If you're buying a pressure washing company,
Yeah.
but you're running, he's running his dog walking business through that company, and that's how he's taking in the money for whatever reason, or he's paid by his aunt $50,000 in a laundering scheme. Like you want to make sure that you're not paying for that because that's not the business that you're buying. That's the first thing. And then from a quality of earnings standpoint, the second thing is making sure that all the money is accounted for, right? That they're not lying.
Yeah.
That's tax returns, that's ledgers, that's deposits, that's making sure everything lines up. And it is a lot.
It's a lot. And then, again, I came in with a sharpened pencil ready to roll up my sleeves and do the work, even though it's not what I like. But here was kind of my two big takeaways from that
Okay.
is I realized one, this is what I pay an account for, but this is really more of a test run in managing. I'm going to be operating and overseeing and managing a process. Like my job in due diligence is not to go sharpen my pencil and do the work, it is to guide and direct the process that I'm having other people do. So this is a good chance
It's a
for
good
me
framework.
to take some practice at giving direction to a team and setting them off the races rather than trying to take on everything for myself. So I kind of viewed it as an opportunity, was one big takeaway. And the second big takeaway is, yes, that quality of earnings, making sure all the math ties out. Like, I need that for me to feel comfortable moving forward in the transaction. But it's not just me. I'm going to take this to a lender, and the lender is going to need that to all tie out because they're only going to go off tax returns. And anything outside of a tax return, they're going to need verification, receipts, et cetera, to see that the maths. So I realized it's not totally me driving this. Like there are needs also via my lender that'll help guide the
Yep.
process. So those were kind of my two big takeaways from the financials that I've just started a whopping 36 hours ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Drinking from a fire hose. And so with that though, right, that's the financial side. And I think you're doing the right thing. It's, you get very 32,000 foot overview, helping like, hey, this worries me, this worries me, this worries me. I know the industry, you might not. Can we figure this out? Can we figure out, hey, they have an ad back for the brother. Like what, let's talk about that. Let's go through all the ad backs. Let's make sure they're all correct. But then that starts pushing into operational, like, okay, let's go through the operations. How many people, how long have they been there? What are they getting paid? What's the bonus structure and commission structure? Like all of the, how many contracts do they have? Making sure their contracts are valid and they're not expiring within the next 6 months. Real estate, if they're in real estate, is that assumable loan? Like all of the things that you need to do from an operational standpoint, you can't really pay somebody to do.
Yep.
So how are you starting to look at that as you figure out financials first, then start wasting your time on ops and legal?
And that's kind of one of the things that, and I could, please steer me otherwise if I'm barking down the wrong tree here, but I felt like it's best to kind of get the financials and the legal underway, because that's where like the things that are true deal killers and are going to cause me to walk away will show up, because they're definable and clear. Operations is not something I was necessarily going to save to the last minute by any means, but I wanted to get a picture of, verifying some financials, verifying some legal before I start getting in there and really understanding the day to day and how the ops work and who their people are, and doing all of the interviews with employees, clientele, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't interview any employees or clients until you get to close, because that hurts them, it hurts you. If the employees don't know about it, if they already know about the sale, it's a bit different. But that's why I lost all my employees day one, is because they let it slip, right? They let it slip that the business was sailing before it was supposed to be selling.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's in my opinion, the best thing to do is come in day one, sit everyone down and give everyone the spiel. Because what employees don't like is they don't like the unknown of like, hey, what's going to happen? So if you can quell that day one, hour one, you're going to be fine. We're not changing your pay. We're not getting rid of anything.
Interesting.
Like, just relax. It's just a new owner. That's it. We're going to try and grow and give you guys more opportunities.
See, and
so
I would believe you because you've done it before. My thinking and kind of how I was planning on doing it is sitting them down to, again, not hit them with the surprise of, hey guys, nice to meet you, I'm the new owner. But to sit them down before close and say, hey, listen, this is what's going underway. Yes, ownership changing. You still have a job. Not only do you still have a job, I need you to stick around for me to be successful. So tell me about your experience. What do you like about working here? What are, again, closed door, I'm a new guy, I'm an outside person. What would you like to see improve? How can I make your life better? And then starting that kind of camaraderie on the front end, to ensure that nobody comes in day one, hour one's like, wait, new owner, screw this, I'm out. So
yeah, I mean, the downside becomes, right, it's like, well, what if you don't close? And then now that hurts the old owner. So it's just like, it can get messy really quickly. I mean, I don't want that to happen for anybody. But that's why the general consensus, right, is you just wait day one, it closes, you go in, you talk to them. It's the same thing, right? You're just moving the timeline to before, after. There's unnecessary risk in doing it before versus doing it in after. I don't think there's a right or wrong way, other than like, hey, you really need to understand that, that the risk then is not closing and then hurting the old owner. Because now the employees are worried and you were selling and now you're not selling and someone backed out, and like, what's the deal? It's just the unknown is what kills people.
Fair.
But what I would challenge is, I'd say, hey, I would start ops now. Ops, like it's a time sink, right? There's zero money that you really have to spend on it. The ops due diligence, while you're running financial, which again, like you're saying, is a very good, example of what you will have to be doing when you're running a business, right? Because you are going to be running operations for this company, and you're going to be delegating out the financials and all these tasks and everything like that. So it's a good mix of both, because you will have to do those ops at some point, especially with the size business you're buying.
100%.
But I dig in right away, man, because if you find something, it's free to do. And if you find something that's like a deal killer. So the reason I'm pretty adamant about this is I found something that was a deal killer in one of my businesses. So before I bought Rapid, I was looking at a business down in Napa, which is where I was living. I had my house that was less than a mile away from this location. Like, it was beautiful. The problem was, it was the real estate that they were in was it was critical to the business, and they were grandfathered in with the old owner of the building complex to have zero increases in rent on a commercial building for 20 years.
What?
Yeah. So I
Oh,
found that because I went and talked to the landlord saying, hey, they're thinking about doing this. I just want to make sure that we can go through the terms. And they were like chomping at the bit, like, no, we are going to raise you up as much as possible, as quick as possible to get you to market. And I went, my net is 200,000. You are going to raise my rent 20,000 in 3 years. I'm not going to have any net. And so I ended up killing the deal because of that. And I found out the landlords were pretty adamant that the owner was operating in a common space, which they weren't going to allow anymore, to the new owners. And so that was going to kill like 400 square feet of critical area to the operation. And so, like, those two things, like, like the bit, like, that's dead. I can't buy that business. And so that would have hit me. I mean, I still would have had to pay the due diligence and whatever, but at least I didn't wait another 2 weeks and run out something else. We found that out pretty quickly. Probably one of the most important decisions you can make in your ETA journey is which SBA lender you are going to pick. A lender who will be in your corner to get you closed on the deal, as well as set you up for future expansion. That is why we partnered with Alan Peterson from First Internet Bank. He and his team take a how can we approach, as well as I personally know they specialize in home service acquisitions. Mention the show or my handsome bald head and receive a reduced good faith deposit, as well as a detailed deal review and maybe even a buy-side pre-qualification. No strings attached. Head on over to alanfib.com. That's alanfib.com, or click the link below to get connected.
Some news and updates I got from them earlier this week, which I viewed as a giant win and a positive. So I'm excited to get your take. But the broker hit me up and said, hey, listen, they wanted me to relay something to you. They haven't offered this to any other prospective buyer yet, but they just really like you. They're really excited to work with you. So in the listing, it says that they're going to hang on to their current space, and whoever the new buyer is going to have to find their own new lease of flex space to set up shop at. They really like you, so they have a spare 400 square foot office, and they're down to just kind of split office space with you and kind of work hip to hip with you, if that's something you want to do rather than go find your own space. Employees already know where it's at. They're already familiarized. Makes transition and training really, really seamless, because I don't have to pick up the phone and call them. I just pop my head out the door and say, hey, Rumi, got a question for you. So I really like that idea. And again, it saves me also on lease dollars. So again, I viewed it as a big kind of win to just be working legitimately, physically hip to hip with them in the same space. So, operation.
It's double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And the good side is exactly what you said. Like, if you guys have a good relationship, and I mean, like I said, there's extenuating circumstances here, but if the relationship is good and the owner wants to stay and he's running a different business and like all this thing, then yeah, that can be fine. The other bit though, and if it's not critical space on a location basis, generally I would say, if the owner is going to stay, a lot of people want to get out from under the owner's thumb, right? If it's not critical to location. And so understanding that, I guess what I'm getting at, right, is it's very hard to take over from a managerial and leadership standpoint, where the team still has to deal and work with the old ownership. Does that make sense? Like, that's why I always recommend a really quick training period. I don't like the 6-month or the year long keep the owner on stuff. I was a 3 week and done. Like, get him out of here. I don't want anyone calling him, like, unless it's me needing something. Yeah. But from a team standpoint, like, I'm the leader. I'm going to be the one that's helping you. I need to figure this out. So it's like it's a double-edged sword because it helps you, but if they're good, but if they're not good, it hurts you. So it's like this,
I see, and that's
who
one of the things
knows?
where, again, I defer to you because heck, you've done it and done it successfully. I have not, but I really like the long extended overlap in training and transition. I'm not, I don't,
Just wait.
and I'm sure again you've done it, I have not, but
Honestly though, I hope I seriously, jokes aside, I really hope that it is a good transition. I've transitioned with 3 owners now, and all 3 of them, I like you really need to push them out the door because what we find and what I found by this podcast and going through and talking with people and the workshops is what you end up finding is like that ownership stays on usually in the HVAC, plumbing, and electrical fields as a like qualifying agent, and it ends up becoming a nightmare just because he's like, I don't want to run a business anymore. I just want to be in service or sales. I just want to be in the field again. And then he gets out in the field, but he hasn't grown his business. You bought a $3 million HVAC business that's been like that for 30 years because he doesn't know how to run a business. He's going to sit there and tell you you're doing everything wrong for the next, 10 years you keep him on. And that culture is going to actually reverberate into your team. It's, hey, this price is too high. Well, no, it's not. You just have been underpricing for the last 30 years, which is why you haven't grown. Like that's the kind of conversations that I've had personally with the owners and have had anecdotal evidence. Yeah. Sorry, I hate that word. But that's what I've seen. And I've seen it over and over and over. It's like they put him in a service role. He doesn't do good because he can't sell because he doesn't believe in your new pricing structure, which brought him up to market, or he doesn't believe in the new marketing way. You're sending people out to leads for free now. What is this? I'm not doing that. I'm charging them each time. You know what I mean? It's like this crazy stuff that maybe it's just a trades thing, like an old head trades is like they know better.
Yeah.
I posted on Twitter the other day. I said, hey, people got into owning a business for 2 reasons. A, they're born into it. Like your dad is an entrepreneur, your mom's an entrepreneur, you grew up selling candy bars and lemonade stands. The number 2 is you don't like being told what to do.
And that's you.
Yeah, you probably heard my spiel already.
And that's Jack. Yeah.
That's me. And so, but like, that's also everybody that I deal with in the trades. It's like this old guy just doesn't want to be told what to do and how to do it.
Heads, man. It's funny because hearing you talk about this, it style wise feels like it highlights our separate and different approaches that we've run into on other topics, which is you really are a huge fan of independence, growth. This is all about growth and your ability to scale something up. And I am really much more have a preference for stability. I like, again, if he's kind of like, the reason I like a longer and lengthier transition period is I'm buying something because it's been previously proven to be successful, because you have been doing something right for 15 years. So I want as much time hip to hip with you to be able to understand what you've done over the past 15 years to keep this ship afloat and to be able to replicate it. So I don't really mind, again, like being under the guy's thumb. Fine, I'll sit comfortably under his thumb if it means I can, sponge and get as much by osmosis that I possibly can to ensure that stability. That's, again, my mindset. But
when we bring you back, we'll see.
Yeah.
I honestly, I hope it's that for you, because I've yet to see it.
Yeah.
But I'm open to seeing that. And I actually hope that you get that. It sounds like you guys are gelling and getting along really well. Like some of the owners I get along with well now that we're not working together, right? They're just other HVAC business owners or ex-HVAC business owners that I can talk to and bounce things off of. That's all wonderful. But yeah, I think we will see on this one. And I really do hope that it's in your favor.
The nuance too is that it's again, they're doing some franchising rollout and I will be a franchisee. So there's kind of going to be some inevitable, I'll never be totally out from under their thumb because there's this franchise aspect to it. So that kind of makes things unique. And it's, again, going back to, it's funny when I found out about some of that legal stuff that I mentioned, the first thing that came back to mind, I was like all flustered about it. I was going for a walk and then I remembered, and it was hard because I was like, man, but I like these guys so much. I'm enjoying them. The relationship is so warm that, like, I can tell, and I have the presence of mind to see that it's making it difficult for me to be objective. And the first thing that came back into the mind was when you and I spoke on episode 1 of, is this a symbiotic or is this an adversarial relationship that you're going to have with the sellers? And I'm like,
Yep.
see, this is why you got to remember what Jack said, is because as great as you get along with these guys, they might have some skeletons in the closet they're intentionally hiding. They're going to lie to the government. They're going to lie to me. And so, as much as you like these guys, remember that this is inherently going to get adversarial. And so, like, don't fall in love too fast. So, the wisdom of this show has already, come back a few times at me. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's a good reminder during this phase, though,
yeah,
right? During due diligence is like, that's when you're uncovering those skeletons, and all of the kind of the honeymoon phase of, oh, it's going to be so great and you should definitely buy my business because it's easy and I only work 10 hours a week and I make $300,000, $400,000. My wife, I just pay her just because I want to pay her, and da 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 da. And then you like open the books and you're like, oh, none of that is true. None.
yeah,
Of, the operational due diligence, I talked to whoever the distributor, and the distributor was like, no, dude, that guy's working like 60 hours a week. He calls me at 10 p.m. at night to get that equipment. You know what I mean? Like, then you're like, oh, so it's not just all fine and dandy. Oh, and yeah, they didn't pay us for 90 days last month because they couldn't, because they told me that they were behind on jobs. And you know what I mean? Like, you find all this stuff out when you start cranking down on the ops and then on the financial side. So, I mean, I hope, like I said, hope is a great word for this kind of time in the process. I wouldn't get married to the business, because if something does come along, you can mitigate that risk again, like we talked about in one of the last episodes, with price. Boom. First thing you do is, I'm never afraid if you do find like true fraud or true maybe not fraud, that's a strong word. You don't want to insinuate that they purposely did this, but a miss in funds that wasn't there or didn't hit right or whatever the case may be, like, we are retrading. And I wouldn't be afraid of that, because at the end of the day, you are the one taking on the risk from the bank. You're the one putting the or the personal guarantee. It's your real estate that's up for auction if you go bankrupt. So making sure that you are covered. And that's the key to all of acquisitions, is price negates risk. So.
Yeah, the one thing that that we're also going to be working into pricing, and as I mentioned, we have a price at close and then a target purchase price to be achieved through an earnout. And maybe this is naive of me, but that target purchase price, currently it's over where I want it to be, but like, I'm kind of okay with it. I'm kind of, again, I'll imagine we'll still whittle it down, but what I'm much more interested in retrading and negotiating on is that price at close, because that's what I'm going to be on the hook for with the bank. And so again, if we need to keep their earnout as the eventual purchase price, I might leave some money on the table, but like, honestly, it doesn't really bother me that much. What I'm most concerned about is where my hind parts are exposed and where I'm on the hook for the bank. So my retrades, I'm planning to target that price at close rather than the target purchase price. Again, that could be naive.
Agreed.
But
that's actually, I think that's the better call. It's like, hey, if we can once again reduce risk through creativity, it's like, hey, let's reduce the for sure personal guarantee portion, and then the non-guaranteed, well, it's still guaranteed, but in a different way to the seller. Work on the seller's note, keep the seller's note the same or bigger, and then take down purchase price.
That's a deal killer for us personally, is I'm going under enough debt as it is to where I'm not doing it.
Well, an earnout is a seller's note.
No, we're not doing it as a note per se, where I'm obligated to pay them. It's based on the overages.
You're doing some super creativity there. Yeah, I got you. But points withstanding the amount that you're going to owe the owner after the fact of the close of the deal based on revenue or net, that part is going to be, it's going to buffer, right? Because as your net goes down, you'd have to pay them less. As it goes up, you pay them more. It works out. Completely agree with you there. What was I going to say? You had a great point that I wanted to touch on. Don't get married to the deal was a big one. Not until it closes. Making sure that you're going through due diligence with a clear head. Going back and you can always, you don't want to retrade, but if you need to retrade, make sure you're open to it. I don't know.
Well,
Okay. Well, I'll think of it later.
Yeah.
We'll add it in, cut it in. No, that's awesome though. I'm very excited for you, Chris. It's the perfect business, like you said. It's what you wanted. It's in the right geo. There's some funkiness to it, but there's never. I mean, it's very rare that there's a deal this size that doesn't have any funkiness to it, and you're powering through it, man.
Yeah.
Like this is
That's all you
awesome.
can do.
How are you feeling mentally?
I had a few freak outs earlier this week because, again, I was so gung ho to like dive into due diligence. Like, now the real work commences. And I felt like I took 2 looks at it. I'm like, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. And it was a little bit of a kick in the pants. Yeah, got my ass kicked in a little bit. But then again, I viewed it as an opportunity. I kind of zoomed out, realized I'm directing the process, not in the trenches. So I'm feeling pretty good at this point. Off that big call I had with my accountant, the moral of the story is get access to their QuickBooks. Like, again, rather than doing this back and forth of no, your form is incorrect, redo it. Like, just give me access to the QuickBooks and we'll recast this all from scratch ourselves. So now that I've kind of got that directive, my accountant's on board with that. I'm feeling pretty good. I honestly, the weird part, and I don't necessarily want to. We can if you want to go down the rabbit hole, but the things that I'm most concerned about at this point are macro issues that are bigger than anything that I can really forecast or mitigate. And what I mean by that is tariffs. And I know that lots of people have lots of different opinions on tariffs. I'm not here to speak to those opinions. I'm not an economist. But they're, again, thinking of chemical costs. I'm thinking of parts and equipment that goes on these trucks, these pressure cleaning systems that might need replacement, et cetera, et cetera. And how is tariffs going to impact that? And I just really don't know. And at the same time, it feels like my entire adult working career has been handcuffed by macro issues. I graduated college in spring of 2020 in the height of COVID. I had to sit on this. I don't want to sit on the sidelines anymore. I want to deal make. I want to learn to dance in the rain rather than hide under the bed. But there is a potential big macro issue impending that nobody really is able to have a crystal ball and tell what's going to go on with that. So
yeah, but at least you can start planning for that, right? So you start planning for that day one, dig in. I mean, as you're going through due diligence, like the answer is it's right in front of you. What is your chemical costs?
Yeah.
What percent of the business is the chemical cost from a COGS perspective,
Yep.
right? Oh, it is. My guess, I don't know pressure washing that well, Chris, but I know the chemical side of car wash industry. So one of my best friends runs one of the largest chemical companies for car wash industries.
Yep.
And the chemical price per car that you wash is like 13 cents. Like, it is absolutely negligible.
Mhm.
And that's the point, is like it's highly concentrated chem that you then spray onto a car and let sit, and it's 13 cents in the car wash industry. So like the margins are so high there and the cost is so low that you can dig into that, right? That's something that you have the numbers on. You can look at and say, hey, their COGS last year for chemicals were 2% of revenue. Yeah. If this were in a worst case scenario, right? Tariffs hit, the worst case scenario is you actually aren't able to get those same chemicals, which is more of a different issue. Mm-hmm. Like they run out and you can't import them. But if that doesn't become the issue, it's a pricing issue, and they say triple, you go up to 6%. Can the business eat that in that cost? And the answer is like yes or no. And if it's yes, then like don't worry about it.
No, that's true.
Don't you know what I mean? Like that's the sitting on the sideline things is you can only worry about so much. Yeah. Like we don't worry about it for our industry, and tariffs are fucking wild. Yeah. Excuse the language, but like 30% on a $10,000 unit, like it is wild how much that they're raising prices on HVAC units. Yeah. But we can't do anything. Like I'm not going to be able to do anything except A, get better at selling units. B, get better at getting the parts and pieces for units to fix them in case they break and we're not going to be able to sell them. C, get better at financing units so that people can get financing easier and be able to buy them. But like those are the things I can handle. Yeah. Only focus on those, like whatever.
Very stoic of you. I'm all about that. So
the rest, yeah, I mean, but it's the realist in me. Like I can't do anything about it. So just own it and keep moving.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you.
So Awesome, man.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
me
excited.
too.
Start the ops due diligence
Yep.
now, just so that you can truly make sure you're not finding anything stupid. That just like blows you away. Like, oh my gosh, these guys are operating, something ridiculous, and you're just like, I'm not doing this. Bye.
Yep.
Continue with the financials. You got your team in place. You got your legal, and you have your accountants, and you have your broker. So you're ready to go from there. You're ready to keep moving. You have your banker. And would you have a timeline on how long you have for due diligence to finish?
Yeah, and it's technically 30 days, but they're pokey about getting us our stuff, and so due diligence starts at receipt of all documents requested. So,
Hey, what a great way to do that.
yeah. So again, well, it's 30 days. It's a bit flexible, and they've mentioned verbally. I've brought it up a couple of times, and they said, "Hey, listen, if you need extensions or something like that, no big deal. Just let us know."
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then 60 days total to close, including that 30-day due diligence timeline. So we're
You're
marching
rounding the
there,
third
man.
corner,
It's
man.
crazy. The other big thing is I'm going to need an ops manager for this. So actually, this is a great platform. If anybody wants to potentially come help run a pressure washing business down here in West Palm Beach, Florida, slide into my DMs. Would love to potentially talk about it. I've got a few people in mind. Really good buddy from the sniper platoon, a cousin, a few others that I've tapped and have in mind. But that's also part of my ops due diligence is I gotta find somebody to help me run it. So,
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Exciting.
Well, great. Thank you for listening. I'm blown away. This is so cool. I'm really pumped.
Same, man.
Keep listening to hear Chris finish out his journey. Hopefully, we're gonna hope that next month he doesn't find anything crazy, and we are on to APA. That's next steps. If you like what you heard, leave us 5-star reviews wherever you listen. Like, comment, keep it engaged, share it, bookmark it, whatever it takes to keep this whole thing going. If you're liking this content, and head on over to ownedandoperated.com for more stuff like this. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.